So, tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, Mashiach will come before, and we're not going to have to fast. But if Chas v'Shalom Mashiach is going to decide to wait one more day, then tomorrow we have to fast on Tisha B'Av. And a lot of people wonder, besides the fasting and being hungry, really what is the point of the fast and what do I need to focus on? And just sitting at home being hungry is one thing. But if I'm fasting already and I'm commemorating the day, one needs to really know what do I need to focus on. Now, in most cases, Tisha B'Av will always fall close to the parasha of Dvarim, what we just read this past Shabbat. And even though we read the parasha, and usually it will go retroactively on the entire week, this week we're reading Parashat Vayetchanan, so this week has the energy of the parasha. And usually the week after, I don't have anything to do with the parasha. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai explains in the Zohar that all the days after Shabbat get blessed from that Shabbat, Kulu Yamin Midbarchin Mineh, meaning that the energy and the message of the parsha of the previous week is also, just be careful with the camera. You have to smile when you pass. So even though the parasha passed already, the following week still carries the energy of the previous Shabbat. So the last parasha that we read, the parasha of Dvarim, it's talking about the history of the Jews and how they went out of Egypt, what happened, all that stuff, which raises the question, why do we really need the history? Why do I need history? If history cannot be changed and it's in the past, what's the point of learning history, constantly repeating the history and commemorating the history? Because in history lies the path and the guide for the future. In history is the message of what I need to change in the future. Therefore, I constantly look at history in order to be able to know what to change in the future. Which comes to teach me, why am I commemorating Tisha B'Av every year? To look at history, what happened, and to be able to learn from my mistakes. So originally Tisha B'Av, we said that the spies came back. So what was the sin of the spies? They talked Lashon Hara. And they talked Lashon Hara about the land of Israel. You go now to most of the countries, now I was in America, but you go to many other countries and you talk about Israel, and maybe on the option of coming and doing Aliyah, then you hear Lashon Hara about Israel. No, it's a hard place, there's no jobs there, there's terror attacks there, the weather is horrible, and all these things. You know, I was now in New York, the weather is worse in New York than here. I was schwitzing there like an animal, and I was like, this is horrible here. The weather in Israel is 10 times better. Everybody's talking about how bad the weather is. But everywhere I went, and I always promote people to do Aliyah, and people always talk Lashon Hara about Israel. And the fact is that Israel is the best place in the world. It has, if you look at the bad, then you'll see the bad. But if you look at the good, you'll see how much good it is. And somebody told me now in New York, because we talked about Aliyah, and the husband wants to move to Israel, the wife doesn't want to move to Israel. So we spoke together, and the wife was like saying, look how dangerous it is in Israel. Look at what's going on now in the Temple Mount. It was the week with all the action. I told her, I'm very sorry to tell you, I'm very sad with what's going on in Yerushalayim. And it's horrible. No person should be hurt. But if you compare now Jerusalem and New York, or forget about Jerusalem, compare the entire land of Israel and New York. In Israel you have 1 stabbing a day, and in New York you have 1,000 stabbing a day. So the ratio of murder and crime and robbing and stabbing in a peaceful city like New York is 1,000 times more than in Yerushalayim and in Israel. So you know what? Israel is not that dangerous. you go to certain places, you will find there some horrible things. I was in London a month ago. There's much more problems with the Muslims in London than what we have in Israel. By the way, I was in Golders Green, a 20-minute drive in Stamford Hill every day. There was Muslims there stabbing and killing and hitting, and everybody was worried about it. Are you there? And I was like, I'm not there, I'm 20 minutes away. So Israel is not that bad. We have to learn from our past. We cannot talk Lashon Hara about Israel, and we cannot talk Lashon Hara, period. But then, what was the next time? The next thing that we had a bad thing on Tisha B'Av was, of course, the destruction of this first temple, which the first temple was destroyed from idol worship, forbidden relations, and bloodshed. Now, since the sin was revealed, then the length of the exile was revealed. When they left Yerushalayim, the Prophet told them, you're leaving for 70 years. And after 70 years, they came back to Eretz Israel. But again, looking back at our history, we have to commemorate and understand what happened wrong in history. Then there was idol worship. We don't have idol worship so much in our generation, but our idol worship, the translation of the word idol worship is avodah zarah, something that is foreign, not necessarily bowing down on the ground to a statue. Avodah is a job or a labor or an action, and zarah is foreign. Anything that is foreign to me as a Jew is considered idol worship. And for me, something that is not on the path of the Torah is foreign. Therefore, in our days, there are many forms of idol worship. Some people worship their car, and they're washing twice a day. Today in our generation, there's a new form of idolatry, and that's called an iPhone, or a Samsung, or whatever you call it, a smartphone. Everybody is attached to this piece of metal, and if this piece of metal is not in their eyesight for more than 3 seconds, there's a problem. That can cause a crisis now. Where's my phone? That's in some point of a way, that's a form of idol worship that I can't be without it. They call it in our generation an addiction. There's no such a thing as an addiction. It's just a weakness for something that I can't control. Something is controlling me. Before I became religious, I was addicted to everything. And I got to the realization that I was like, I don't want to be controlled by any substance or anything. I used to smoke. I was a very heavy smoker. And I said, I am not going to let a stick of nicotine control my life. What I have to every 5 minutes go out, and if I don't have my cigarettes, I'll get all uptight. And if I go on a plane, not to smoke for 11 hours. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to let a stick of the nicotine control my life. So I quit smoking. So the reality is that we are, I don't like using that word, but we are addicted to so many things in our generation, and some things, they seem harmful. People are addicted to Facebook. They can't get off it. They get on, and then 3-4 hours later, somebody has to rip them off the computer. That's an addiction, because there's nothing good going on there. Go for 5 minutes, share your post, read some other posts, check your messages, say hello, and move on. And when you're sitting in front of the screen for more than 2 hours, you have to tell yourself, I have a problem. Because it's the same junk. And people get addicted to something as simple as Facebook. It's not so simple, by the way. If you find that you're wasting 3 hours a day on something like that, that's not normal. If some people are addicted to their phone, they can't walk around without their phone. Some people are now, of course it gets developed into things that are more severe, to medication, to all sorts of other things. Today, unfortunately, many people fall into the addiction of drugs and alcohol. But now there's, in the groups, the anonymous groups, once there was AA and NA, Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous. Now there's all the letters, BA, RA, TA, all these, where these letters come out from? This is eating disorder, sleeping disorder, this. So we are in a generation that we don't bow to idols, but we do fall into some type of idolatry that I cannot live without something. Which that also needs to be observed and to reflect on it. Then we had bloodshed, and we had forbidden relations. Forbidden relations is not much to explain. Unfortunately, the majority of the world are failing in that. There's not much to talk here. And bloodshed is not necessarily killing somebody with a knife. Sometimes just insulting somebody, that's considered bloodshed. or talking Lashon Hara about somebody and making him look bad in front of the entire community, that's also bloodshed. So this is why the first temple was destroyed. But we're now technically mourning the destruction of the second temple, not the first, because that's closer to us. And that's what, more recent to what we lost. And what we are mourning here is the fact that the second temple was destroyed from a very horrible sin that is called Sinat Chinam. Hating another person for no reason. And since the sin is not revealed, then the length of the exile is not revealed. I mean, I can smile at you all day long and pretend that you are my friend, and inside I hate you. So the sin is not revealed. With bloodshed or idol worship or forbidden relations, it's obvious. You can see the sin. Sinat Chinam, you can't see the sin. I can be a friend for years and you will not know that I hate you or that I talk bad about you. So since the sin is not revealed, then the length of the exile is not revealed. And I know there are many different theories why we are still in exile. One rabbi will say because of this, another rabbi will say about that. It's all right. But ultimately, we are still in exile because of Sinat Chinam. And believe it or not, it still exists. It still exists in such a horrible way that I told you, every time I go on a trip, then that I go to teach and to inspire and to lecture, but I always get something, some type of a message. Every trip there's some type of a theme. If you remember, we spoke about the trip in London, then I came back, the theme was thanking Hashem, constantly thanking Hashem for everything that you don't have, for things that you do have, for all your problems, is thanking. But in this theme, besides the thanking, which was also the same, I noticed something so annoying. Every place that I went, and I went to many different communities, there was a question that everybody was on the tip of their tongue. Some were more courteous, they waited an hour to ask me. Some were less courteous, they waited 5 minutes to ask me. Some had the patience or they didn't have the courage and it took them half a day to ask me. But in all the places that I went to, there was a question, and I saw and noticed on the people that I'm talking with that they're like, I can't wait to get the question asked and to get the answer. Yesterday I told you in the meal, like the theme with Roger Rabbit, you know, the Disney cartoon, that he has a tune. So the theme with Roger Rabbit is and you wait for the right? So the same thing was in all these places that I went, like 20 questions leading to the and what was this annoying question? What are you? I'm a man. You don't believe that I'm a man? I can prove that. No. What are you? I'm a human being. That I can see, but what are you? I'm a Jew. Oh, no, come on, what are you? What are you? Are you Sephardi? Are you Ashkenaz? You Breslev? You Chabad? What are you? That was the theme. Of course, I'm making it more, but believe it or not, there were places there, what are you? What does it matter what am I? I'm a human being. They did not like the answer, I'm a human being, or I'm a Jew. What are you? And I said, you know what, I am nothing. It doesn't matter what I am. I'm a Jew. I follow the Torah and I believe in God. And you see that I went to one community, all they had to say is bad things about the other community. And then I went to the other community and they said bad things about this community. And unfortunately, every community that I went to, that was emphasized, that I saw this hate to other places. And you know, it's very easy to see, like I said, to be positive and see if all the communities have amazing character traits and qualities, but when you really go to the depth, to the pinpoint, you see that there's this subtle hate between the communities. I went to one community, they tell me, where's your lecture tomorrow? I'll tell them over there. And all sorts of these faces. And the next day I would go to one, where were you yesterday? I was in that community. I'll never do business with them. Why? I don't want to talk Lashon Hara, but, it always starts with, I don't want to talk Lashon Hara, but, there's always a but. That but probably is some way protected from the Lashon Hara. So the sad reality was that everywhere that I went, that was the theme. And I kept telling everybody, we're in the 3 weeks. We are mourning the destruction of the temple. We are trying to arouse in us the knowledge and the awareness of that we have to accept everybody and love each other equally. Doesn't matter how they look, what's their background, what's the type of siddur they pray. Why are you asking me what I am? Does it matter what I am? If I'm going to tell you I belong to this group or that group, is it going to change your opinion about me? Yes, it would. And that's the sad reality, that if you belong somewhere, then we don't hear what you have to say. How about you hear what I have to say and then you judge me? And unfortunately, in many communities, if you belong to a different group, they don't approve, you're not going to be invited there. You're not going to be getting a stage over there. And you asked me before, where am I speaking in California? I don't create the tours. We have, Baruch Hashem, many different people that they help us. They're in touch with different organizations. People contact us to invite me for lectures. I don't want to deal with it because unfortunately there's politics in that. Even there, believe it or not, the politics. Where is he from? What is his background? Who's his rabbi? Who does he go by? There's one community that I came in which, Baruch Hashem, I have Baruch Hashem very, very strong help from above. That I told you that in the last trip in London I was able to get into some school system that nobody was ever able to penetrate into the school system. On Friday there was a young man here from England and he told me, how was your trip? I told him, I was able to get into that school and to lectures. He was shocked. He was like, what? Nobody ever went into these schools. So it's the same thing with certain communities. So there was one community that people from the community requested for me to come there. I had to go through a whole investigation before I was allowed to come into the community. Where did he study? Who's his rabbi? What's his opinions? They had to watch my videos to see what I'm talking about, and Baruch Hashem, I was accepted. So, and everybody was like, nobody ever went into this community. They only take the rabbis from the community. How did you get in? Well, you bribed somebody? And this is the sad reality that we're still seeing in the year 5777 or 2017, that there are still communities and people that they judge you, they box you, they categorize you, and if you're not according to their specifications, we don't want to hear you. So the sad reality is that that's one thing that I met in many of the places that I went to, and Baruch Hashem, we had the zchut to give 2-3 lectures every day, which means every day somewhere else. And there were large lectures. There wasn't lectures of 20 people. There were lectures of hundreds of people. And in every place, that's what was pinching my heart. Why do I still have to give excuses to people? Why do people look at me like, well, how are you dressed? Is your coat long? Is your coat short? Look at your beard. Where's your peot? What are you? I'm an enigma for people. Because I don't come and state I belong to this group, because I don't belong to a group. I don't want to belong to a group. In my path, when I became religious, I went to a Sephardi yeshiva. And I loved the yeshiva, but I didn't love the fact that there was a lot of Lashon Hara going there. Everybody else is disqualified. The Ashkenazim are wrong. The Hasidim are crazy. This group are this. And everybody else is wrong. We are the number one. We are the truth. And our rabbi is the only rabbi. And everybody else is worthless, just he's the one. I'm not going to mention names. At some point I was like, that doesn't sound to me like the Torah. So I went to another yeshiva, and I went to a Breslov yeshiva, and the teaching was unbelievable. Unbelievable teaching. But I heard the same thing. We are the right ones, and our Rebbe is the only Rebbe, and there's nobody else. And so I went to another yeshiva that teaches the path of the Rav Ashlag, the Baal HaSulam, and I heard the exact same thing. And then I went to a Chabad yeshiva, and I heard the exact same thing. We are the only ones, and our Rebbe is the top. And come on, what is this? The Eurovision? There's just a competition here. Whose Rebbe is more better than the other Rebbe, and who's more right than the other? So there's nothing wrong with belonging to a group or a community. And there's nothing wrong with following a rabbi. You have to follow a rabbi, and you have to have a path. But when it brings animosity and hate and judgmental and all these character traits that are negative towards another group, that beats the point. That totally beats the point. And if you cannot handle the fact that there's a group that is different from you to a point that you're going to badmouth them and lashon hara and argue to a point that becomes fighting and violence, and that's not the Torah. The Torah is not about arguments. The Torah is about peace. The Torah only promotes peace. One of Hashem's names is Shalom. All the prayers that we focus on is about peace. You pray Shmona Esrei, you pray Shacharit, Mincha, and Arvit. We finish the prayer by saying Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha. Put peace on everybody. One of the most famous prayers that everybody knows, and we add it in the prayer of Kaddish, Oseh Shalom Bimromav. Hashem does peace. He comes to promote peace. Birkat Kohanim, V'yasem Lecha Shalom. Everything is Shalom. All our prayers is about peace. We don't have a prayer that's talking about an argument. And there we have everybody doing the opposite of peace. So, unfortunately, human nature brings us to a point that we are competitive, we are judgmental, we group ourselves. The Torah is not about grouping ourselves. We have tribes, and there's a reason why we have tribes. And believe it or not, even when we had tribes, in the beginning they didn't intermarry between the tribes, but later on the tribes did intermarry. But we don't have, right now, we don't know who we are. Nobody can come and say, I'm from this tribe. The only ones who know which tribe they belong to is the Levites and the priests, the Kohanim. They know they're from the tribe of Levi. But you, believe it or not, most of the Kohanim in our generation, they're not really Kohanim. How do we really know? Some can really track their lineage or DNA. And when you go to the DNA, that's when you find out that there are many people that they think they're Kohanim and they're not Kohanim. I have a very good friend that for generations they thought they're Levites. And when he got married and the rabbi went through all the ketubah and he wanted to see proof, and they found out, they tracked it back and he found out he's not even a Levite. But really the only ones who can really know which tribe they are the Kohanim and the Levim. And very few people do have proof of lineage, and they can track their lineage. I know a family in America that they have a proof and tracking themselves back to Rashi. And Rashi, we know, was a direct descendant of David HaMelech, who was from the tribe of Yehuda. So they know they're from their tribe. But most people, they don't know which tribe they are. I don't know which tribe I am. There's many people who say all the Jews in the world that are now obvious as Jews are from the tribe of Yehuda. Everybody else, they're lost tribes. They don't even know who they are, where they're from. Now many people are coming from many different communities saying, we're from the tribe of Menashe. We're from the tribe of Ephraim. Nobody can come and say, we don't believe you. Who are you to say, I don't believe you? They're finding now all sorts of tribes in Africa and the Far East that they have a Torah, they say Shema, they read, they have Tefillin. Mashiach is going to come very soon, is going to start pointing out at everybody and say, you're from this tribe, you're from this tribe, you're from this tribe. He's also going to add another thing, you're Jewish, you're not Jewish, you're Jewish, you're not Jewish. You know how many people think they're Jewish and they're not even Jewish? And you know how many people don't know that they're Jewish and they're Jewish? People evaluate that we're about 15 to 20 million Jews in the world, which I don't see how, but I think we're close to 100 million Jews, maybe even more. Because you know how many Jews are around the world that they don't know they're Jewish? Millions. They saying that in Spain, every 6th Spaniard is a Jew. After the Spanish Inquisition, you have about 45 million Jews, people in Spain. That's 7 million Jews in Spain that they don't even know they're Jewish. That's the source, the root of the soul. The 600,000 is the roots of the soul. But if you look at a tree has a trunk, and then branches, and then more branches, and more branches. So there's 600 roots, 600,000 roots. But from that it developed for millions. Now we're not going to get into that whole issue, but I do believe that there are tens of millions of Jews, and every day we find people find out that they're Jewish. You know how many Jews were left in Europe in the Holocaust? How many Jews? 90% of the Jews in Russia 100 and 150 years ago, because of communism, they just stopped becoming Jews, because if you would just blink in the direction of Judaism, you would get killed. 90% of the Jews in Russia said, okay, who needs this headache? I'll become a communist and I don't need this. You know how many Jews are in Russia? How many Jews in South America? And in all the Arab countries? You know how many times I shared with you? My father was born in Lebanon. His parents are from Syria. He told me that my great-grandfather had a brother who had a daughter. At the time, it was very common that the girls would get kidnapped. They would kidnap the Jewish girls because they were fair, they were nice looking, they were considered good quality women, and they would sell them to other tribes, and the girl would just disappear, and you had to deal with it. That's the reality. No FBI, no Interpol, no police. So my great-grandfather's niece was kidnapped, and they looked for her a little bit, and that's it. Then you can't find her. A couple of years later, one of the family members was a merchant, and he traveled and he found her in Jordan. But she was already married, she had kids, and this is not the type of people that you can tell them, listen, this is my family, give her. This is not the type of individuals that you can come with requests. So she stayed there. And that was normal, and it was normal that like in our generation, it's not normal, but almost any second family has a person with a horrible disease, and it's acceptable. It's not acceptable, but so 100 years ago, every second family, the child was kidnapped. So what does that mean? That means that I have cousins in Jordan. I mean, this is 4 generations back, but she had kids. They're Jewish. They have kids. They have kids. They have kids. You know how many millions of Jews are around us in Jordan and Saudi Arabia and Iraq and Persia and Yemen? And millions of them. You know that Friday when I came now from the trip, a cab driver took me home. I was talking with a very heavy accent, Arab accent. I was looking at him, and we were talking the whole way we were talking. We had actually a very interesting conversation. And I told him, I think you're Jewish. I think you should check your background. I think you're Jewish. No, I'm a Muslim. I told him, I think you're Jewish. I'm looking at your face. I look how you talk. I listen to how you talk. I think you're Jewish. No. I told him, check your background. You know how many Muslims are Jewish? You know how many stories of popping in? You know the story with that guy who was the great-grandson of the Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz who came here to Tzfat with the song? I don't want to tell the story, it's a long story. I'll tell you another time. There are millions of Muslims, they're not even Muslims, they're Jewish. When the Prophet said, the ones who are going to destroy you will come out from you, you know how many terrorists from Daesh and Hezbollah and Hamas? They're Jews. They just were born into a Jewish mother, and they don't even know that. You know how many stories are from the IDF when they go into Gaza? There's a story from the last mission, cast-led. Soldiers were going into a structure. A woman came with an explosive belt on her, and one of the soldiers screamed, Shema Israel, and she stopped herself, and she started screaming, no, don't kill me, I'm Jewish. And they stopped her, they took her to the Secret Service who interrogated her, and she said, please help me, I have 2 boys there. And you know how many Jews are in Arab countries? Millions. There's an organization in Israel, it's called Lehava. No, Yesh Lachim is another organization. They say there's about 60,000 Jewish women in Arab villages and countries that were kidnapped, whether willingly or not willingly, and they live there. And they can't get out. Once you're there, you can't get out. And they have kids, and they have kids, and they have kids. So there are millions and millions of Jews all over the world that they don't even know they're Jewish. When Mashiach is going to come very soon, you're going to see we have a lot of Jews all over the world. You know how many Jews are in America that don't know they're Jewish? I have a very good friend that recently, maybe some of you met him, he was hanging out here in Tzfat. He recently found out that he's Jewish. He went to graves, he saw all the graves, a Star of David, and he says, now I'm Jewish. I can't believe it. I'm Jewish. So the point is not to talk about how many Jews are not Jews, but Mashiach is going to come very soon and going to start pointing out to everybody who's Jewish and who's not Jewish. And believe me, there's going to be surprises. A lot of people who think they're Jewish, and Mashiach is going to say, I'm very sorry to tell you, you're not Jewish. So the point to take from that is that we have to look back at our history. History comes to teach me what I need to fix in the future. And that's why the Parasha of Dvarim will usually fall close to Tisha B'Av, because the Parasha of Dvarim comes to teach me about it shows and teaches about our history. We need the history. That's why schools teach history. That's why we learn in our Torah history. All our Midrashim is history. Because I need to see where my forefathers have sinned and made a mistake so I can correct it. And if I cannot look back and correct what my previous generations did, then I'm going to continue mourning and mourning and mourning every year. If we're going to fast tomorrow and just be focusing on my hunger, I'm not doing any change. And if I fast and I do not focus, and why am I fasting? Because a building was destroyed. I don't want to talk like that because it's very disrespectful for the Beit HaMikdash, but it's a piece of real estate. It's a building that got destroyed. One can come and say, why are you crying? We have the Torah. We have synagogues, we have yeshivot. I still learn Torah. Why are you crying? Because this is our home that we got from our Shem. This is our temple. But taking that aside for 1 second, I need to mourn and to cry for the destruction of the unity of my nation. Our nation is divided. The entire nations around us are against us. I mean, there's many amazing people from the Gentiles that they're supporting us, but look how much hate is around us. Their entire world is in chaos, and I can think of a sandwich. I need to think of what's going on in the universe. The universe is now in exile, and I'm suffering because I did actions, I'm suffering because my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather, they did a certain action, and if I don't know how to correct it, then I will fast another year, and another year, and another year, and I will still cry, and I will still complain that I don't have Beit HaMikdash. So the point is to look in the fast is not to think of how hungry I am, or not to focus on what's something that happened 2,000 years. I need to focus on what's happening now. Not to focus on the Sinat Chinam that was 2,000 years ago. I need to focus on the Sinat Chinam that is happening in 2017. That I can go to a community and not be accepted because I come from a different community. That's the problem. The problem in our generation that we're living in the past, but we're not fixing the past. It's very easy to commemorate, yes, something happened 2,000 years ago and I'm not going to eat now for a whole day. Most people, you ask them, why are you not eating? Why are you fasting? They don't even know why they're fasting. They just say, everybody told me not to eat, so I'm going on a diet for 1 day. Which I'm sure that many people in the synagogue, they don't eat. They come home and they're looking around. And nobody's going to notice I'm going to eat something. The reason why we have a fast is not to torture us. The reason is that I will be a little bit uncomfortable. We learned before about all the little things that I need to do to make me feel and realize that I'm uncomfortable, to make me understand that I should realize that I'm uncomfortable in this exile. Even though I have food and a house and a wife and kids and I have money, Baruch Hashem, I should not feel comfortable. I should feel very uncomfortable. And if somebody else is suffering, that should cause in me great pain to see somebody else suffering. Everybody's suffering. But we looking inside me, and I'm, no, I have enough of my own problems. I don't need to worry about somebody else's problems. And the point is that Hashem puts a lot of problems in us because He wants me to worry about somebody else's problems. And I told you now that in the last 2 weeks in the trip, we had morning lectures and night lectures, and in between there was meetings. And every person that came to complain about all their problems. And some problems, I'm telling you, if you think you have problems, come with me once on a tour and you'll see you don't have problems. What I had to hear from poor people, not poor with money, this torture that people are going through. Literally I had to come with a box of tissues to every meeting. It's hearing the hardship. And everybody wants advice. And my only advice that I could give, besides the basic things, is go and help somebody else. Yeah, but Rabbi, I have my own problems. Go and help somebody else. Because when you're worried about somebody else's problems, Hashem is going to take care of your problems. And that's the reality. Not too long ago we had an incident with a lady that unfortunately was in a very bad situation with her husband that caused her to leave the home in the middle of the night, fearing for herself, and the police had to get involved, and it was a very, very not nice scene. And we were up with her till 4 o'clock in the morning. She was in her home, sleeping on the couch. Police was in her home, threats from the husband. There was a very not nice night. And the next day in the morning, when I was late to an appointment, and I explained to the person that I was up all night, then he told me, it doesn't bother you that this lady comes to you in the middle of the night, knocks on your door, wakes up the house, police is in your home. It doesn't bother you? I told him, no, it doesn't. You know why? Because I rather deal with somebody else's problems. I rather deal with somebody else's problems than with dealing with my own problems. And when I deal with somebody else's problems, then Hashem takes care of my problems. So Hashem throws at us a lot of problems, and what we do is we just complain. We whine, we complain. Hashem says, why don't you go and help your neighbor, and I'll take care of your problem. So this originates from this same thing of sinat chinam. If I can't stand somebody else, why would I help somebody else? Now it's very easy. A lot of people come and say, listen, what are you talking about? There's a lot of charity going on, a lot of charitable acts. Look how much organization of chesed is out there, how much help. And I'm like, this is great. But it's very easy to write a check, especially when it's tax deductible. And especially when I have my name written now on a wall that I donated so-and-so money. That's very easy. Go and do it without getting a receipt and without getting your name on a wall. So, now we're, Be'ezrat Hashem, very soon going to open a new shul. And we're starting very soon a men's program that's going to be equal to the women but for men. And we want to have a minyan for that. So I'm now on my trip, I was collecting money to buy a Sefer Torah. So it's not easy getting money, especially for Sefer Torah. It's a lot of money. So, okay, people they give a few dollars, here a few dollars doesn't buy you a Sefer Torah. So a Sefer Torah is 60,000, not 50,000. So, in dollars, not shekels. So, unfortunately, some people, fortunately, because we're going to have a Sefer Torah, but unfortunately, some people give a Sefer Torah because they want the name written in big letters that Moshe Zuchmin gave money for the Sefer Torah. Which again, I'm not saying anything wrong. You still get the mitzvah of tzedakah. But the right way of doing it is you don't put your name everywhere. But regardless to that, chas v'shalom, not to talk bad about anybody, some people, if that's what causes them to be charitable, good, we'll put your name, no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. Even though the right way is to give the charity when your name is not flagged everywhere. But the real charity is not to write a check, especially when you have a lot of money. The real charity is go and help somebody that is in need. That's the real charity. That's the real Ahavat Israel, that you go and help somebody without condition. It doesn't matter who they are. Somebody's sick. You think the ambulance driver, the EMT, comes to the person and starts asking you, Ashkenazi, you're Sephardi. If you're Sephardi, I don't want to give you a CPR right now. CPA, whatever it's called. What? Yeah. So the thing is that not to in Hebrew they say litchon mayim. Litchon mayim is to put water in the blender, and a blender doesn't blend water. You can blend the water all day long. It's not going to change if you put it in the blender. This is an Israeli saying, don't blend water. So we don't need to blend water here. The point is that we're standing in front of a very auspicious day. The day that we have to fast for 24 hours, we have to mourn, but we also have to reflect. And we have to understand, why am I mourning? What am I missing? What do I need to learn from my past to change for the future? And if I don't know how to change the future, then what good is the past for me? The past is here to show me this is what you need to do. And right now, what we need to focus on, the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed from Sinat Chinam. That's it. There's many other excuses. I heard all the version that no, we fixed that, and look how much love is between Jews, and look how much organizations are of outreaches. Yes, this is all amazing. But when you go to the small communities, or big communities, doesn't matter, but when you go to the hearts of people, and when there's still the hate, then we didn't change anything. And I was in a meeting by one person who comes from one group. And I told him, I'm sorry, I got to get up from the meeting. Oh, somebody passed away. Oh, then I met. No, they're announcing the funeral. Somebody who passed away. No. When somebody, maybe a very big rabbi, because I heard him say Zecher Tzadik Levracha, maybe a big rabbi passed away, Shem Yerachem. That's how they announce the funeral. But I was sitting in a meeting with somebody who's from one group that they're very proud about their group, their ethnic. And I told him, I got to finish the meeting, I have a lecture. Where are you going? I told him, to this community. That's what I got. And I said, why? I'll never do business with them. Okay. I didn't ask you if you're going to do, who you're doing business with. Why are you telling me? No, I told him I don't want to know why. And all he had to say is bad things about the group. Now, it wasn't a group like a group of a religious group, an ethnic group. You know, you have Persians, you have Moroccans, you have Polish, you have Romanians, a group. And I was like, that's what you have to tell me. That's you can't keep it, even if you know what, at least the good thing I can judge you for Kav Zchut is at least you don't hold it inside, that you're taking it out. But that's what's on your mind when I tell you about a group, hundreds of thousands of individuals, God-fearing Jews, good Jews. That's your opinion about them? Because 1 or 2 or 10 did bad to you, now 100,000 is ostracized. And then I went to the other group and I told them I just came from there. So if we still have that, all the charitable organizations that we have, and all the soup kitchens, and all the clothing organizations, all that, it's, I can't say worthless, but don't pull that and say, here we have charity, we have Ahavat Israel, we have unconditional love. Good. But if deep down inside we're still battling this little hate for somebody else, then we're still in a big problem. Now we cannot correct communities, but I can correct myself. And I need to look at myself. Do I really accept everybody equally? Do I judge another person by his color of his skin? He's Sephardi, he's Ashkenaz, he wears his hat like this, he wears his hat like that, the jacket looks like this, or his jacket looks like this, or he says oi, and I say oh, and doesn't matter how I pronounce the word. And you know, I'm happy you're laughing, but it's sad. And now I'm telling you, in this trip it was very focused, very emphasized. Every shul that I went to, they were looking, what's the siddur that I'm praying? Oh, you pray from that siddur. People like looking like how I'm dressed, how I pronounce my words. The beard is no, but, and then I noticed when I was praying, they were like, what's the siddur that he's holding? So we're going to look in the past, And we got to learn from the past how to change the future. And I can't do it in a public way, and by speaking about it and by emphasizing it. I can affect the public. But if I can't, if it's not in my ability, then I have to look inside myself. How true am I? Am I one of these judgmental people? Oh no, I'm good, but that group I can't stand. And I love all the people in the world, but they're cheap, and they're this, and they're thieves, and each group has a theme. One group is cheap, one group is stingy, one group is thieves, and the problem is that Mashiach is here, and he's looking around, and he says, oh my gosh, if Mashiach is Ashkenazi, then the Sfardis are not going to accept him. If Mashiach is a Litai, then the Hasidim are not going to accept him. And if he's a Hasid, then the Litaim are not going to accept him. He's like, oh my God, what coat should I wear? Should I put my peot in the back, or should I put the peot in the front? Mashiach has an issue. He's looking in the mirror every day. He's like, oh my gosh, if I go with my hat like that, then this group is not going to accept me. Maybe I'll go with my hat like this. So we're causing problems to Mashiach. Maybe he's suffering from bipolar or schizophrenia. He's like, I don't know what I am. Maybe I'm Ashkenazi, maybe I'm Sephardi. Of course, I'm joking. Don't take words literally. Mashiach doesn't have bipolar. I'm just trying to emphasize the problem is that we're walking with long beards and black hats and long dresses, and you cover your hair, and we're doing everything in the book. At least we're trying. And many of us are trying. We're not going to now measure how religious I am. That doesn't matter. But if I'm able to carry this point in me that person is different, I'm better than them, he comes from that background. Now again, I don't want to blend water, but in all these communities that I went to, many parents came to me with complaints. My daughter is dating so-and-so. I don't want my daughter to date a Moroccai, a Persian. Say thank you that she's dating somebody normal and she's not dating somebody from her own gender. That's what you worry about because it's a different ethnic background. No, but they're all like this and like that. Say thank you that she wants to get married even. A minute ago I was in a meeting that somebody was complaining that his son is dating his own gender. Now you're complaining that your daughter is dating a Moroccai. That's how sad it is that people pretend that they're past the judgmental part. They passed it. They have the unconditional love for everyone. But my daughter cannot marry him because he's coming from that ethnic group. So the point is, again, not to blend water too much, is that when it comes to focusing on what I have to do tomorrow, is really, am I true to myself? Not how religious I am. That is not the question. Not how much Torah I learn, not much how strict I am with the mitzvot. Trust me, in the eyes of Hashem, that's not the highest priority. The highest priority in the eyes of Hashem is how much you are making space for another person. How much you are willing to accept another person even though they're different. But really accept them. And not to on the outside smile and you can sit here, and in the inside I can't wait for him to leave. So this is what we need to focus on. So I know we're going to be very hungry and it's going to be hard not to focus on the sandwiches, but you know what? Hashem says, listen, don't think of yourself for 24 hours. Why is it hard for me to fast? You tell people tomorrow you've got to fast, people are like already, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it 24 hours without chocolate, 24 hours without coffee? People are freaking out. You can think, 70 years ago in the Holocaust, people didn't eat for weeks. They had a little dirty water and a crumb of bread, and we're crying on 124 hours. We have a fridge all day long. We're opening the fridge like some weird creature all day long. We're shoving things in our mouth. 70 years ago, people were starving and they would appreciate a cup of water. So our perspective is completely distorted. So 24 hours, your mouth is not going to go like this all day long. So it's for 24 hours that Hashem tells me, don't think of yourself and your stomach so long. Think of somebody else. Because when I'm thinking of myself, I cannot think of somebody else. So Hashem says, oh, I want you to stop thinking about yourself so you can start developing the ability to think of somebody else. And if we start thinking of somebody else, we actually come to the realization, you know what, I was now on the plane coming back. There was a minyan on the plane. And you know what I liked seeing? That was like the foreclosure of the trip. All the trip, what pinched my heart, that there was the separation. What finalized the trip was a minyan on the plane. This guy had the payos like that, this guy had the payos like that, this guy didn't even have payot, one guy had a white yarmulke, another guy had a blue yarmulke. We needed a minyan. Oh, now we're equal. Now in the sky, when my feet are not on the ground, suddenly we are equal. Suddenly everybody's the same. So we were able to make a minyan on the plane, and everybody was thanking each other. This guy said Chazak u'Baruch, the other guy said Yeshar Koyach, and we were shaking each other's hands and thanking each other for helping me be part of the minyan. And I was like, oh, Baruch Hashem. That's when we forget about the facial design and the fashion, and suddenly we were able to be in a minyan. So the point is that what I want to focus on is that I need to bring the redemption, and we want to see the coming of Mashiach. We want to celebrate the sacrifices in the Mikdet HaMikdash, and it's around the corner, by the way. It's not that we light years away. We can have it tomorrow with just a little bit of effort. We're just so self-centered that we're shooting ourselves in the leg. So we have to take this 24 hours a day to really reflect, am I really mourning the destruction of the temple, or am I just going on a diet? And am I mourning on the fact that a building got destroyed? Every day buildings get destroyed? Or am I mourning the fact that we as a nation, and later on manifesting into the other nations, that we didn't know how to run our business, and as a result Hashem took our toy away? So we have a lot of thinking to do in the next 24 hours. I mean, it's starting tomorrow, but we have a lot of thinking to do. And in between the starvation is to think, can I get better? Can I accept another person more? Can I make space for another person? Can I not be judgmental because a person is in a different group? Now, before we started, this young lady is having a hard time. She came and spent Shabbat with us, and she's torn. I'm half Breslev, I'm half Chabad. I don't know what to do. I like here and I like this, and she's so confused. This rabbi is telling her that rabbi is telling her this, and it's sad. I told her, you're Jewish. You like the teachings of both groups? Good, I also like the teachings of both groups. It doesn't say that if you're Chabad, you can't learn Breslev, and if you're Breslev, you can't learn Chabad. And if they're telling you in the institute where you are, if you are in this group, you can't learn Lat, then all I can tell you is find a different institute. Because there's nothing wrong with a Chabadnik learning Likutei Moharan, even though they will not do it. And there's nothing wrong with the Breslever learning Likutei Sichot, and from the Chabad dynasty. There's nothing wrong with that. Why can't I learn from everybody? In every yeshiva that I was, they told me, you are in this group, you can't learn that. And I was like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I want to learn. David HaMelech says, Mikol milamdai eskalti. I've learned from all my teachers, from everybody. So you see that this is confusion, and it should not be. Yeah, 100%. So the point is that we want to really know what we're reflecting on in the next past, and it's in our hands to change this unfortunate hate towards other people. And it's not only the hate between the Jews and between the group, it's the hate between the Jews and the non-Jews. Unfortunately, in so many institutes, the education is to hate the Gentiles. It's to not to accept the Gentiles, and they're our enemy, and we are the best. And this is not the Torah. The Torah says we have to be a light to the nations, not to fight with the nations. And if there's nations that go against us, then doesn't mean that we have to like these particular people. But the education that we see in many institutes, religious institutes, is to not to like, to hate, and not to be part of the Gentiles, which is the complete opposite of the Torah. So we have a lot of thinking to do, and then we have a lot of actions to do. It's not only thinking. And the point is to really look at our past and to learn from the mistakes and to bring it into a point that what am I fixing? Just to fast and to wear sneakers, I'm not doing anything. Besides a diet and cleansing my body, I didn't do nothing. When my daughter told me, can I play this game? No. Can I do this? No. Can I read that? No. She told me everything I can do. I told her, yeah, you sit down and you think. For 24 hours, she told me it's boring. I told her, it doesn't matter if it's boring. You have to think. And even though you're only 12 years old, you have to think, is there any girl in your class you don't like? Is there any girl in your class that you think that doesn't like you? It doesn't matter if you're 12 years old. You also have to think about that. And yes, it's boring. We can't learn Torah. We can't do anything. We definitely can't eat. So Hashem says, start using your brain. And that's what we need to do. And Bezat Hashem, if each and every one of us will take on themselves just to be a little bit more accepting and to loving and making space to another person, then I can guarantee to you that you'll be already going out of your own exile. 50% of your problems are going to be solved just by you accepting another person. When I don't accept another person, I create this negative energy that is now in me. Therefore, I start suffering from physical problems, from emotional problems, because I hate another person. The person doesn't get affected by that. I get affected by that because I carry the hate. That's it. Very simple. It's a very bad word, hate. My kids sometimes say, I hate this. Don't say I hate, say I don't like. It's not my taste. Why are you saying hate? Hate is a very bad word. Just having hate, if I hate you, you don't suffer from that. Chas v'shalom, I don't hate you. I carry the hate. So I have to get rid of that junk. And if I carry hate, I carry something negative in me, I will become sick. I will become depressed. I will become angry and all these things. Because I'm carrying in me something negative. Very simple. So we have to dig deep down into our neshama and to cleanse our neshama and to learn how to make space for everybody around us and to learn how to change that hate. And a lot of people say, listen, I can't do much. You're a rabbi, you go speak in front of a lot of people, you say that. I can't do much. Which is the complete opposite of the truth. You have family, you have neighbors, you have a community, people around you, you talk, you have to practice that. Not only preach, practice it, and by you accepting any other person and opening your home, opening your institute, opening your heart, you are also affecting the world. You are affecting another person that says, hey, she's different than me and she accepted me. Oh, I can do that too. Bezat Hashem, Hashem should guide us and light our way to be able to open our heart and make space to every human being, to be able to develop this unconditional love to any person. And with that, we'll merit to see the coming of Mashiach. And Bezat Hashem, if we do it tonight and tomorrow, there's still a chance that, if we practice the unconditional love, not the fast, if we practice the unconditional love tonight and tomorrow, maybe we won't have to fast tomorrow, and Mashiach will decide to surprise us and come. So the fast is tomorrow. Don't get me wrong, don't start fasting today. The fast is tomorrow night. Tomorrow night it starts the fast, and we're going to fast throughout Tuesday. Today is Sunday. It's only, what is it now? It's only 2 o'clock. We still have 36 hours before the fast. 36 hours we can win a war. So 36 hours we can still change a lot. And Bezat Hashem, Mashiach is waiting to come. We just need to do a change.